I arrive at the wedding venue with my auntie, both dressed in our finest, expecting celebration. The evening air smells like jasmine and expensive perfume. String lights glow against the darkening sky. We're here for family. We're here because we still believe in belonging. The entrance is crowded with guests streaming toward the decorated garden pavilion. Silk drapes billow in the breeze. Gold accents catch the light. Everything looks perfect. Too perfect. My auntie and I are greeted coldly by the bride's mother at the guest check-in table. Her smile is plastic, rehearsed. She glances at my auntie's name on the list, her face tightening with visible disgust, like she's reading something rotten. "You'll be seated outside," she says flatly, pointing toward plastic chairs near the service entrance. I freeze, confused, thinking there's been a mistake with the seating arrangements. Outside, there must be no mistake. Her voice is ice. My auntie's face drains of color as she realizes this is intentional. Her hand finds mine, squeezes once. A silent plea. Other guests whisper and stare as we're directed away from the main pavilion. Eyes follow us, judgment thick as smoke. I see distant relatives seated inside under chandeliers while we're pointed toward the back alley, toward the shadows, toward the place where people who don't matter so. The bride's mother loudly instructs staff to keep them separate from the family section. She says it like we're contaminated, like we're something to be contained. My auntie grips my hand, her palm cold and trembling. I notice other guests from our side of the family also being directed outside. The poor ones, the traditional ones, the ones who don't fit her new image. The plastic chairs are unstable, set up near trash bins and the catering staff's smoking area. The smell of cigarettes mingles with rotting flowers. This is where they put us, like garbage. Laughter and music pour from inside while we sit in shadowed exile. The sounds of joy we're not allowed to touch. My auntie straightens her sari, forcing dignity into her posture despite the shame. Her spine steel even as her heart breaks. I feel humiliation burn through my chest as waiters walk past us like we're invisible, like we're furniture, like we're nothing. A group of younger cousins inside glance out and quickly look away, embarrassed for us, but not embarrassed enough to speak up. The bride's mother returns to ensure we haven't moved, her satisfaction barely concealed. She wanted this. She planned this. She's enjoying this. My auntie whispers, "Just stay quiet, Beta. We'll leave after the ceremony." But I realize this isn't about seating. It's about erasure. It's about making us feel beneath them. It's about putting us in our place. I flash back to my childhood, remembering my auntie raising me after my mother passed away. I was 7, alone, terrified. She sacrificed everything, her social life, her remarriage prospects, her own dreams, to give me stability. She became my mother when she didn't have to. I remember family gatherings where she was always treated as secondary, the widow with no voice, always serving, never served, always giving, never given to. The bride is my cousin, someone my auntie helped raise when her mother was working abroad. She was barely 10, crying every night for her mother. My auntie paid for the bride's school supplies, tutored her through exams, celebrated every milestone. She was there when her own mother wasn't. I recall the bride's mother returning from abroad, wealthy and westernized, suddenly ashamed of her roots. Designer bags replaced family photos, English replaced warmth. She began distancing herself from family members she deemed too traditional or lower class. We became embarrassments to her new life. My auntie's widow status became a source of embarrassment for her, a reminder of old India, a reminder of poverty, of struggle, of things she wanted to forget. I remember the bride visiting us less and less, her texts growing colder and more formal. Auntie became auntie, then stopped altogether. My auntie never complained, always making excuses for the growing distance. "She's busy," she'd say. "She has her own life now." I think of how my auntie scrimped and saved to send an expensive wedding gift. Months of saving. Every rupee counted. She bought a gold necklace for the bride, a family heirloom she had been saving for years, the one her own mother gave her, the one that meant everything. I remember her carefully wrapping it, writing a heartfelt card about watching her grow up, tears in her eyes as she sealed the envelope. The bride never acknowledged the gift, never called, never thanked her. Silence. Absolute silence. I recall my auntie's face when the wedding invitation arrived, hope mixed with dread. She read it 3 times, searching for warmth that wasn't there. She debated not attending, fearing exactly this kind of treatment. "Maybe we shouldn't go," she said quietly. I convinced her to come, promising I'd be there, that family would welcome us. I was wrong. I remember her hands shaking as she got ready, applying makeup to cover old grief, trying to look worthy, trying to belong. She told me stories of her own wedding day, how different love felt back then, when family meant something, when connection was real. I realize this humiliation is built on years of silent rejection and class-based shame. This moment was always coming. The ceremony begins inside, and we hear the priest's chants echoing out to our exile, sacred words reaching us like ghosts. My auntie sits quietly, tears forming but refusing to fall, hands folded in her lap, praying or breaking, maybe both. I stand up, ready to confront someone, but she pulls me back down. "Don't make a scene," she begs. "It will only make it worse." A waiter brings us plates of food, leftovers, scraps, things clearly not meant for guests, cold samosas, hardened rice, food you give to beggars. The main guests inside are served elaborately on silver platters while we get paper plates, the hierarchy made edible. I watch through the open doors as the bride's mother poses for photos, laughing loudly, performing happiness, performing superiority. My phone buzzes, a cousin inside texting me, "Why are you guys sitting out there?" I respond with the truth, and she goes silent, too afraid to make waves, complicity wrapped in cowardice. More relatives seated outside begin whispering about the disrespect, anger simmering, but no one moves. An elderly uncle mutters about modern families forgetting their values, but even he stays seated. My auntie excuses herself to the restroom, her shoulders shaking as she walks away. I know that walk. I've seen it before. Ooh, I follow discreetly and find her crying silently in the corner near the sinks, her makeup running, her hands covering her face. She tells me she feels worthless, like her years of love and sacrifice meant nothing. "I raised her," she whispers. "I loved her." I hold her furious, promising this won't stand, that someone will hear about this, but my words feel hollow, powerless. We return to our seats and the bride's mother walks past, deliberately ignoring us, eyes forward, smile fixed, victory written across her face. I hear her tell another guest, "We had to make accommodations for certain people." The way she says certain drips with poison. The venom in her voice is unmistakable. She wanted us to feel othered. Mission accomplished. The groom's family begins arriving for the reception portion, a large procession entering. Cars lined up, wealth on display. I notice the groom's father, a tall man with a military bearing, scanning the venue, his eyes sharp, calculating. The groom's father walks toward the main pavilion, then pauses, noticing us outside. His stride breaks. Confusion flickers across his face. His eyes narrow, confusion crossing his face as he takes in the separate seating, the plastic chairs, the trash bins, the exile. He approaches us directly, his steps purposeful and commanding, authority in every movement. "Why are you seated here?" he asks, his tone sharp but not unkind. Genuine confusion mixed with something darker. Anger, maybe. My auntie stammers, too humiliated to explain, so I speak up. I tell him we were told to sit outside, that this is where the bride's family placed us. I watch his face change as he understands. His jaw tightens visibly, his hands clenching into fists at his sides, control barely holding. "What is your relation to the bride?" he asks my auntie. She explains quietly. She helped raise her, supported her, loved her like a daughter when her own mother was gone. His face hardens into stone and he turns on his heel without another word. Purpose ignited. I watch as he strides directly to the bride's mother, his voice low but intense. I can't hear the words, but I see her face change. She laughs nervously, trying to dismiss it, but he doesn't move, doesn't blink, doesn't back down. He calls over the wedding coordinator, demanding an explanation in front of gathering guests. Volume rising, attention shifting. The bride's mother tries to deflect, claiming it was just a seating mix-up, her voice thin, desperate. The groom's father raises his voice. "You put elders outside like servants?" A hush falls over the nearby guests, attention shifting toward the confrontation. The music stops. Everything stops. He announces loudly that no ceremony will continue until every guest is treated with respect. His voice carries, commands. The bride appears panicked, trying to smooth things over, but he silences her with a raised hand. "If her family is not honored, there is no wedding," he declares, his tone absolute. No negotiation, no compromise. My auntie tries to protest, to calm the situation, but he gently stops her. "With respect, madam, this is not your shame to carry." The groom's father orders staff to immediately rearrange seating, placing us in the front row. Chaos erupts, staff scrambling. The bride's mother's face turns scarlet with rage and humiliation as she's forced to comply, her carefully constructed image crumbling in real time. Whispers ripple through the crowd as chairs are dragged and tables reset, the sound of justice being rearranged. My auntie and I are escorted inside to seats of honor directly beside the groom's family. Center stage, finally seen. The bride's mother tries to argue quietly, but the groom's father cuts her off. "This woman raised your daughter when you were absent. She will be honored." Each word a nail, each word truth. He instructs the priest to pause the ceremony until a formal apology is given. Public, witnessed, recorded. The bride's mother is forced to approach us publicly, her apology choked and insincere. "I apologize for any misunderstanding." My auntie accepts gracefully, though I can see she's shaking with emotion. "Thank you," she whispers. "Shall?" The groom's father addresses the entire gathering, speaking about respect and humility, his voice steady, powerful. He shares a story from his military service about dignity and the cost of arrogance, about men who thought rank made them better, who learned otherwise. He pointedly mentions that character is revealed in how we treat those with no power, eyes boring into the bride's mother. The bride stands frozen, realizing her mother's cruelty has now stained her wedding day. This will be remembered always. Guests who ignored us earlier now approach with forced warmth and belated greetings. "We didn't realize," "So sorry," lies upon lies. The ceremony resumes, but the atmosphere is tense, the earlier joy evaporated. Something broken that can't be fixed. During the reception, the groom's father ensures we are served first, personally. He brings us plates himself, honors what was dishonored. He toasts to the real pillars of family, those who give without asking for recognition. Glass raised, eyes on my auntie. The bride's mother sits rigidly, her social standing crumbling with every pointed glance, whispers following her now. Judgment returned. Several guests approach my auntie to apologize, claiming they didn't know about the seating, but they all saw. I watch the bride's mother leave early, unable to bear the weight of public judgment. Exit without grace, defeat complete. Days after the wedding, the bride calls my auntie, her voice thick with tears. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I did not know." She apologizes for her mother's behavior, claiming she had no idea it was planned. Maybe true, maybe not. My auntie listens quietly, then asks if she would have spoken up had she known. The silence on the line answers everything. Long, heavy, damning. The bride's mother is reportedly furious, blaming the groom's father for ruining the wedding. Never herself, never accountability. But videos and photos circulate among the extended family, showing what really happened. Truth viral, justice documented. Relatives who stayed silent during the humiliation now message support. Too late to matter. We were shocked. Terrible. Empty words. The groom's father visits our home personally to check on my auntie. Unannounced, genuine. He brings sweets and sits with her, sharing stories of his own mother's struggles as a widow. Connection through shared pain. He tells her she reminded him of his mother's dignity under cruelty. She had that same strength, he says, that same grace. A bond forms between our families, built on mutual respect and shared values. Real family, chosen family. My auntie receives unexpected invitations to other family events. People want to be seen with her now. Power shifted, status changed. The bride's mother is conspicuously excluded from several upcoming gatherings. The exile returned, the lesson taught. My auntie handles her new social status with the same grace she handled rejection, unchanged, unbroken. She donates the gold necklace she'd given the bride to a women's shelter instead. It belongs with women who need it, she says. I watch her reclaim her voice in family discussions, no longer shrinking to fit their comfort. Speaking up, taking space. The groom's father offers to help fund a small business idea my auntie had always dreamed of. Practical support, real allyship. She begins attending community meetings, finding purpose beyond survival, building, growing, thriving. The bride's mother attempts reconciliation months later, but my auntie politely declines. I appreciate the gesture, but no. Some bridges, my auntie tells me, are meant to burn. I reflect on how one man's courage changed everything in a single moment. One decision, one stance, everything. I think about how many people witnessed the cruelty but chose comfort over justice. Dozens saw, one acted. I speak directly to you now about the power of standing up when no one else will, when it costs you something, when it's hard. In Sem, I describe the weight of being erased, of being treated as disposable by people you loved, people you raised, people you sacrificed for. I acknowledge that not every story has a protector who steps in. Most don't. Most suffer in silence. I honor the groom's father for seeing humanity where others saw hierarchy, for choosing right over easy. I talk about the silent humiliations widows and marginalized family members endure daily, the small erasures, the quiet violence. I challenge you to recognize your own moments of complicity in othering people, when you looked away, when you stayed silent. I ask you to think about who you've ignored, who you've seated outside, who you've made invisible. I remind you that respect costs nothing but reveals everything. Character in action, values made visible. I frame this as a lesson about dignity, class, and the courage to disrupt cruelty. Not all heroes wear capes. Some just stand up. I share how my auntie's life changed not because she fought, but because someone fought for her, because one person cared enough. I emphasize that revenge isn't always personal. Sometimes it's justice restored. Sometimes it's balance. Sometimes it's just right. I thank you for listening to our story, for witnessing our pain and triumph, for seeing us. I urge you to share stories of unsung heroes who defended the defenseless. Celebrate them, honor them, be them. I ask you to tag someone who stood up for you when no one else would, someone who saw you when you were invisible. I remind you that every wedding, every gathering, every room has an outside section. Where do you sit? Who do you exile? I close with the image of my auntie sitting in the front row, finally seen. Her sari perfect, her head high, her dignity intact. I ask you to subscribe for more stories where dignity defeats cruelty, where justice wins, where the silenced speak. I end with a question. Who will you stand up for when it costs you something? Because someday it will. And your answer will define you.